Welcome to Statistics Chapter 5, Lesson 3, all about two-way tables, Venn diagrams, and the general addition rule. So here's our warm-up. Students in a college stats class want to find out how common it is for young adults to have their ears pierced. They recorded data on two variables, age and whether or not they have at least one pierced ear. This two-way table summarizes the data, and the totals are in the margins, like we looked at before. Suppose we choose a student at random from this class. Define event A as getting a student between the ages of 18 and 22, and event B as getting a student with pierced ears. So find the probability of B. So just getting a student with any pierced ears would be 103 out of our total of 178. We can check to see whether this fraction reduces, and we can get a decimal and a percent for our probabilities, for our relative frequencies. So 103 out of 178 is going to be there. Math 1, nope, doesn't reduce. So 0.578 or 579, or about, if we multiply it by 100 and round that. Let's go back to here and multiply it by 100. There we go. About 57.865%. Find the probability that you get somebody in both category A and B, both. So that'd be aged 18 to 22 and with a pierced ear. There are 19 of them out of all 178 students. Which does not reduce, but it gets us 0.107 or about 10.674%. Now, when you're trying to find the probability of either category A or category B, you don't want to double count these 19. So, if you're in category A, you got 19, you also got 71. If you're category B, you have 19, which we've already counted, and 84. So 19 plus 71 plus 84 all together out of 178. Is 174 out of 178. Or 87 out of 89. Or about 0.978, or about 97.753%. Now, sometimes you have all of the information that's given to you. Sometimes you only have parts of it. So we're going to look at the general addition rule. If A and B are two events from the same random process, you could use the formula. The probability of A or B would be the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of both, since both will show up in both A and B, so you don't want to count it twice, so we subtract it once. We'll also look at Venn diagrams today. That's one or more circles surrounded by a rectangle. That's a big thing. Make sure you actually put the rectangle. Each circle represents an event, and the region inside the rectangle represents all of the sample space of the random process. The intersection of events is the and. Can be written as A intersecting with B, A and B. Or the union of events is when you use the or, A or B, with a union of events. So, example 1. A survey of all residents in a large apartment complex reveals that 68% of the residents use Facebook, 28% use Instagram, and 25% use both. Find the probability that a randomly selected resident uses either Facebook or Instagram. So probability of Facebook or Insta would equal the probability of Facebook plus the probability of Insta. But again, we don't want to double count, so we will subtract the probability of both. because this 68% and this 28%, somewhere in there, both have the 25%. So that should be 68 plus 28 minus 25. That's basically 68 plus 3, 71%. There's a 71% chance that somebody either uses Facebook or Instagram in that building. So now let's make a Venn diagram using F for uses Facebook and I for uses Instagram. So remember, first you do need to actually draw a rectangle. And then you can draw your two circles inside, where Facebook is 68%, Insta is 28%, and then 25% would be both. Now, technically, the circles should also be proportional to the area, but for right now, we're just looking at general shapes. So find the probability that the person uses neither Facebook nor Instagram. So the probability of neither is basically the probability that they do not use Facebook or Instagram. So that's really just going to be 1 minus the probability, or 100% minus the probability that they use either one. So that should be about a 29% chance of finding somebody who uses neither Facebook nor Instagram. Example 2. Yellowstone National Park survey, staff surveyed a random sample of 1,526 winter visitors to the park. They asked each person whether they belonged to an environmental club, and then they were asked whether they had owned, rented, or never used a snowmobile. Here's our two-way table, and this time we do not have our totals, so we might want to add those, especially since they already told us that the grand total should be 1,526. So what's the probability that they are in an environmental club? 212 plus 77 plus 16 is a total of 305. Out of 1526, that will not reduce. So about 0.2 after we round, or really 19.987%. Find the probability that they are not a snowmobile owner. So probability that they are not a snowmobile owner means everybody except for these who own. So 279 plus 16, we have 295 of them. So we'll just take 100%, or 1 minus the probability that they do own, or 1 minus 295 over 1526. Math 1. So that would get us 1,231 over 1526, or about 0.807, or 80.668%. And now find the probability that they are part of the environmental club, but they are not a snowmobile renter. So if they are part of the club, but they do not rent, that would really just be this 212 plus this 16 out of our 1526, or 238 over 1526. So that's a 17/109 chance, or about 0.156, or 15.596%. So finally, find the probability that the person is not an environmental club member or is a snowmobile renter. So again, we have a few different ways of looking at that. We could find the probability of both and then subtract the people who are in the environmental, who are not in the environmental club but have rented. We'll subtract both. So if they're not in the environmental club, 445 plus 497 plus 279 makes a total of 1,221 people in that category that they are not in the environmental club. People who have rented, 497 plus 77 is 574 people. But we need to subtract, there we go. But we need to subtract the people who are both. So we will subtract this 497 out of 1526. So we get 1298 out of 1526. Which reduces to 649 out of 763, or about 0.851, or about 85.059%. Then finally, let's make a Venn diagram to display the sample space from today's warm-up, using the events A is there between 18 and 22, and B has a pierced ear. A, remember you need to get the whole space, so that's the rectangle. So people aged 18 to 22 was a total of 90 out of 178, or 0.506. Again, event B was just people with a pierced ear. Again, we already found that was 0.579. But then we also need to put the probability of both. There were 19 of them out of the 178. That was 0.107. And then finally, find the probability that the person is 23 or older and does not have a pierced ear. So, people who are 23 and older with no pierced ear, there were 4 of them out of our 178. Which makes 2 out of 89 if you want to reduce that fraction, or 0.022, or 2.247%.